From Careco TV, one of the longest running outdoor programs on television today. Exploring the country and the coast in search of adventures. From the mountains of the Great Northwest to the shores of the Atlantic Ocean. This is Americana Outdoors, presented by Garmin. This week on Americana Outdoors, we're taking a tour across several states to bring you some of the latest tips and tricks in bass fishing. To kick things off, we're meeting up with Clark Wendlandt and Amanda Masters in Florence, Alabama, as they tackle some tail racing on Pickwick Lake.
You know, the first time I met Amanda, I knew she's passionate about fishing. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Tell me how you got started fishing. You fished your whole life?
I fished growing up with my dad and grandpa, and I ended up swimming in college. So after I was done, I still needed that competition. So I started fishing tournaments with my dad and uncle, and then I've been hooked. It's kind of something you just can't get enough of. So it's on TV all the time, it's on the computer, it's something that I use as a learning tool as well. So I get to watch my anglers fish, and I also get to see the rhyme and reason why they're doing what they're doing on the water, and it helps me in a professional and a personal level.
White bass, that's cool.
You know, fishing with Amanda was just fun. She is somebody that's a lot like me in that she wants to understand why those fish are there. When I catch one, I want to know why it was there because I want to repeat it. I want to go back and catch that same fish again. She was exactly the same way.
It's kind of like a game, so I want to know what the fish are doing, why they're doing it, depending on the weather, the wind, the water clarity, and it's something that you try to figure out because you know where they are next time. And when you do figure them out and you trust your instincts and you trust your gut and they're there, it's just kind of reassuring that you're doing the right thing and you're paying attention and all the pieces come together.
It's a big smallmouth.
That is way cool. That's a big one.
Oh my gosh.
That's amazing, isn't it? That's cool. Gosh, he took good. That's what you come up here in this tail race for, is you just never know. Never know what you're gonna catch. But that's over a 4-pound smallmouth, easy. I mean, that's a big one. You know, the more I fish this, the more I just understand that it changes all the time because they turn on water differently. It comes out of a big wide area. One time current stronger on one side, one time current stronger on the other. And I mean, you know, you catch that big smallmouth and all of a sudden the smallmouth are biting, we lost a largemouth. I mean, all of a sudden it's good right here. But earlier, it wasn't any good. You just gotta kind of keep revisiting it and kind of keep fishing it until you figure it out.
This is my first time fishing this close to the dam, and it's crazy to see how much this heavy current plays a part in where these fish like to hang out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it intimidates you a little bit. You know, that's why we got our life jackets on, but they like, what I've learned is they just like seams, and it's really strong there, not so strong right here. So there's a seam right there, and that's where they seem to want to be.
So it's a little calmer here, but they have easy access to their food.
To the food.
Shooting out.
Shooting by, right. All right.
Ready?
Yep. Hey, that was fun.
That was fun.
I mean, you just never know what you're gonna catch. You get it near one of these dams, near one of these tail races, anything can bite. We've caught white bass, largemouth, smallmouth, drum.
A lot of firsts for me. I've never fished this close to the dam before, and it was really cool to see how the currents play a really big role in where these fish like to hang out. And it's been pretty neat seeing all these birds hunt, and there's just such a huge supply of life here.
Yeah, and you can just tell it's alive.
Yep.
It's definitely alive.
It's been an awesome day.
Yeah, it has.
Yep.
Coming up, we're hopping over to Texas where Mike McClelland is showing us his insider secrets when it comes to crankbait fishing on Fayette County Reservoir.
Before the road trips, the cool mornings, the hot cast iron, the short nights, and the long cast. There's one stop that you can't afford to miss. It's time to gear up and camp out at Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Save on all your camping essentials, in-store and online. Your adventure starts here.
Stetson Blaylock, Todd Otten, and Jerry. Let's go!
Garmin LiveScope, I tell you right now, if you don't have it, you are behind. It's just wild. It's like a video game.
If you do not have that Garmin LiveScope, you are definitely missing out.
Bassmaster Classic Champion!
Americana Outdoors, presented by Garmin, is brought to you by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Your adventure starts here. Garmin, fight your fish, not your fish finder. Ranger Boats, still building legends one at a time. Here at Fayette County Reservoir, we have Mike McClelland on the water, answering some of the most common questions he hears when it comes to crankbait fishing.
You know, one thing about it, I mean, time of year isn't that big of a deal when it comes to crankbait fishing. I mean, almost every month of the year, somewhere in the United States, you're going to be able to catch fish on crankbaits. It's all a matter of the action you choose, you know, how deep the fish are, what you want to be looking for when you're cranking. So, you know, we're here in Central Texas right now, going to get out and play around with 2 or 3 different crankbaits today. One of the biggest things that you've got to do when you're throwing a crankbait is figure out, for the style of crankbait you're throwing, what the best way to retrieve that bait's going to be. Sometimes a faster retrieve will keep it, you know, bouncing off the top of the rocks, and then there's other times that you may need to slow that retrieve down to just kind of keep that bait hovering over the rock. There's one right there. See how that fish bit right when I sped it up? I mean, that's the whole thing, is you've got to let the fish tell you what they want. I'd been winding that bait fairly slow, and about the time I got it to the boat, I sped it up just a little bit, thinking my cast was over, and that's when he got it. Pretty nice little fish. He doesn't have the bait very good, but a pretty nice one. Not bad at all. Little SPRO rock crawler 50 got it done. That's the Missouri craw color, and you know, it's just one of those deals. You've got to be aware of what's going on when you're throwing a crankbait. So many people make that mistake of just chunking it out, winding it back to the boat, and never putting any action or any variance in their retrieve. Good to know. Whenever I'm throwing a crankbait, probably 80% of the time, maybe even 90% of the time, I'm going to be throwing it on Sunline Crank FC. You know, there's those certain situations where you may throw monofilament. Some guys may even throw braid occasionally, but if you're one of those guys that wants to throw braid, I would definitely recommend going from like an SX braid to a Crank FC to give yourself a little bit more stretch. That's the biggest thing you want to do when you're throwing a crankbait, is you want line that has some stretch in it. And when you tie a crankbait directly to braid, it is so, you know, it just doesn't have any stretch, and it doesn't give those fish that ability to suck the bait in like they need to suck it in. You know, one of the questions I get asked tons throughout the course of the year, you know, whether I'm at a lake fishing or I'm doing seminars, is how do you determine what color you're going to throw? And I mean, it doesn't just pertain to plastics or crankbaits, it's across the board. But one of the biggest things that I'm going to do as an angler is first I'm going to try to analyze in my mind what are the fish predominantly feeding on? I mean, that's gonna be the #1 key thing for me when I start dictating color. If I truly feel like the fish are feeding on crawfish and brim, I wanna throw colors that resemble crawfish and brim. You know, and then there's gonna be days that you break down those different colors based upon the conditions of the day. But then there are those situations where you have to consider, what do the crawfish look like? You know, anytime you go to Texas, you better be throwing something red. The main reason for that is early in the spring, the crawfish in Texas are red, and that's the reason fish want to eat that color. But when you go to other lakes, you know, a Table Rock, a Bull Shoals, there's certain times of the year where our crawfish get a lot of purple. They've got browns and they've got grays in them. And you want to match the hatch of that bait as well as you can to the body of water you're fishing. There's one right there, that's a good one. You know, one of the biggest things about a crankbait fish is making sure that you don't put too much pressure on them. I mean, I can see that fish isn't hooked very good. I mean, I'm gonna run a fairly light drag all the time when I'm fighting a fish on a crankbait, even to the point where if that fish wants to run, I can just pull line a little bit. You can see right now I'm just feeding that fish some line. Generally, if you don't rush a fish on a crankbait, you're not gonna lose them very often. But when you let them jump, that's usually when they get you. I mean, that fish is barely hooked. It's a good one though. Stay down, stay down. I think I got another hook in him then. Now that isn't a giant, but that is a Texas bass. Remember I talked about earlier throwing that red in Texas early in the spring? Caught that one on red craw. Man, I love to catch them on a rock crawler.
When we come back, Mike finds a sweet spot in the water and goes on a fish catch and tear. Stay tuned.
Groundbreaking designs, unsurpassed quality, and unshakable confidence. Welcome to the Ranger Z500 and Z100 series. Leading the industry for over 50 years, these rigs are custom crafted and loaded with more features and advantages to deliver the ultimate ownership experience. The legendary Ranger Z series. Unleash next level performance.
Yamaha Outboards. Reliability starts here.
From sun up to sundown, day in and day out, we work hard. We play hard. And to keep us going during those long hours, we demand performance. ENGEL coolers, the original high-performance cooler. Americana Outdoors, presented by Garmin, is brought to you by Yamaha Marine. Reliability starts here. SPRO, Sports Professionals. Sunline, the strength to guarantee your confidence. ENGEL, the original high-performance cooler.
There's one. You know, another real key to fishing a crankbait this time of the year is the, not just how you fight a fish, but the actual action of your rod. I mean, when you look at the rod that I'm using right now, I mean, it's got a lot of flex, a lot of bend in it. And you know, anytime the water temperature's below, I'm gonna say like 65 or 70 degrees, I'm gonna be throwing a relatively slow gear ratio reel. I mean, I'm throwing right now a 6:3-to-1. There's times that even a 5:1 gear ratio reel is a good way to go. Caught that one on a little RK50. I just keep mixing it up. You know, I feel like that red color or orange color is key, but you know, it's all about speed. It's about where you throw the bait, what depth you're throwing it at, and you can catch a ton of fish on a crankbait. The biggest thing you as an angler have got to do is make sure you're throwing the right crankbait for the right situation. I mean, when you're talking about catching them in 0 to 3 foot of water, you're going to be throwing a square bill of some kind. If you're talking about catching them in that mid-depth range, you've got to be throwing a bait that dives at that depth range. And when you get out to that, you know, ultra deep stuff, I mean, a bait like the Little John DD, the deepest diving DD, and now he's even got a deeper diving DD that, you know, will get 20, 22 foot deep. You know, you start talking about long line and guys catch fish on crankbaits 25 and 30 foot deep. So a crankbait will catch them at about any depth if you can get the bait to where the fish are living. You know, there's a lot of things when you look at what all these electronics will do today that you just kind of, there's a fish right there. You kind of take it for granted. I mean, they're so good now that there's not a ton of stuff that you have to do. But there's one thing when it comes to setting up my sonar that I still want to do, and that is I typically always want to run my gain in manual. It's just one of those things that to me makes a huge difference. Little fish interrupted our little discussion about electronics, didn't he? Ate that little rock collar 50 pretty dadgum good. Another nice one. So getting back to the electronics, I mean, I want to run it in manual, and the other thing I always want to do is I want to have my A-scope on. When you look at this unit right here, anything that you're seeing between this line and the beginning of the history is actually there. That is live sonar. Everything from here over is memory. So I always want my live scope or my A-scope running, and I always want to make sure I'm running my gain in manual. The reason I do that is when you get around to other boats, your unit will actually try to start adjusting itself down automatically because of the interference. If I'm running mine in manual, I know I'm going to see every target that I want to see in the water. Another one right there. I mean, they have decided to eat. Front starting to come in. They have decided to eat. Hear that drag slipping? It's all about not putting too much pressure on them. You know, people look at that different. Some people say you want to just wind them to the boat as fast as you can, but I've always looked at it, the more time you take with them, don't get in a hurry, you're going to catch 9 out of 10 of them. It's a nice one. Even when they do just barely get it. If you have the right reel, the right rod, the right equipment, you're going to put them in a live well. That is just a blast catching them on that bait. I'm gonna tell you straight up, I thought the RK55 original couldn't be outdone, but I've about decided this little 50 is even better.
Crankbaits have always been a favorite among many pro anglers, and when you follow these tips and tricks that Mike McClelland has shared with us today, you'll reel in a ton of fish into your boat. We're making our final move over to Lake Bashir in Kentucky, where Jeff Reynolds and Terry McWilliams are spilling the secret of the stupid tube.
Your time on the water is precious. You return season after season to make unforgettable memories, fight a few fish, reconnect with friends, and recenter yourself. If you count on having this time, you need an outboard you can count on to power it. That's why boaters stay with Yamaha for the long run, for life. They know reliability starts here.
You know that guy that's always bringing in big ones from offshore? He's got secret lures. That guy that can pull out his spinning rod and start catching them when you can't buy a bite. He's got secret lures. What about that guy that can follow you down the bank and catch what you left behind? He's got secret lures.
Oh, yeah, good one.
If you're ready to be that guy, get your secret lures today at secretlures.com.
You've been waiting all week for this, and Sunline wants to make sure you're ready for it with bulk spools of all your favorite fishing lines.
That's so fun.
Bulk up with Sunline. Americana Outdoors, presented by Garmin, is brought to you by Secret Lures. The secret is out. Outdoor Action TV. Stream your favorite shows. Power Pole. total boat control. We're on the water in Kentucky with Jeff Reynolds and Terry McWilliams. Terry's best known as the pioneer of the Stupid Tube. He's here today to introduce Jeff to a new rigging style and let him in on the secret to his success, exclusively using the Stupid Tube made by Secret Lures.
To me, a Stupid Tube is what I'm throwing right now, which is a 3.7, 3 7/10 inches long.
Yep.
And I throw it on a 4/0 hook and usually use an 8 3/16. I've been playing a little bit with it with a quarter, but usually I save the quarter for the big dummy tubes. And sometimes they eat when you don't even realize it.
Uh-oh, you got a good one?
And that's going to get me to another part of the Stupid Tube, the way to fish it. You can't fish it wrong, and you can't fish it too slow.
More or less, you just got to fish it, right?
Yeah. You're trying to represent a crawdad, unless you're throwing a white one, you're trying to represent a shad.
Yep. Good fish.
As you can see, it sticks them pretty good.
Sticks them good. There's one.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Oh,
that's... Mean ones back here anyway.
They are. Heck yeah.
Now, was you working it?
Not very much. I was kind of doing what you was talking about. I
down.
slowed it down because I had been working it a bunch.
Right, I know you've been working it.
I've been swimming it some and just working it pretty fast. And that time, just like you were talking about, slowed it down and just let the bait do the work. Like I told you before we started, you know, I've flipped the tube a lot just because where I live, not that many people throw a tube anymore. They used to, but they don't anymore. I'm thinking, well, it's just something different. Now, I'm so excited of all the different ways that I've learned to fish it now. You know, coming out with a bigger head to fish it deeper on ledges, you know, in 15, 20, 30 foot of water. And even flipping it like that right there, I mean, flip it at a stump, let it sit there, and fish takes off with it. So there's a lot of ways to fish them. Just don't overfish them, just like you said. I mean, best statements. Terry, you've thrown this Stupid Tube a lot. I mean, what's some of the ways you rig it?
I go up about 1/2 inch from the head, pull it out.
Right.
And all I do is pull it, the lead starts to come out, but don't pull the lead out.
Yeah.
And what I do is I turn it over this way, and I turn my head over.
Yep.
Once you turn your head over, the hook tells you what it wants to go in at.
Yep.
But you want to be sure it's going in straight. And then what I do is I want it to go straight through. So what I do is I kink the tube. That way it lays on there pretty much weedless like that. And if you want it real weedless, you slide her forward, skin hook it back. And depending on how heavy the cover is, how deep you skin hook it. Last thing I do is poke the eyeball out because I want it straight.
There's one. May be the deal, they just moved out here a little deeper. Got in the shade of these pads. Look good again. Not a bad fish.
Solid.
A lot of fun. There again, I mean, that's just the versatility of this tube. Jerking it around underneath these pads in 3 or 4 foot of water and flipping it on the stumps back there, flipping it in grass patches. You can do a little bit of everything with it. There's one.
3-pounder.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, every bit of 3.5. Yep, 3.5. That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good 3.5. 3.25.
Let's see here. I say 3.2. What do you say?
Not quite 3.2. 3. Yeah, close.
3.1.
Yeah, 3.1. Between 3.1, 3.2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Majority rules right there.
Yep.
That wraps up a relaxing day of fishing and learning all about the Secret Lures Stupid Tube with Terry and Jeff. To get in on the secret to success and to catch the latest how-to videos, head on over to secretlures.com. Hey, thank you for watching, and join us next week on a new episode of Americana Outdoors. Americana Outdoors is a Careco TV production.
I got my power pole down, stuck in the mud in the bottom of the lake, sitting so still in the wind and the waves, could even be a hurricane. I got my power pole down.
You know, when I look at the tournaments I've won, probably 4 or 5 of the boats that I've won have been on a tube. But I'd completely gotten away from flipping a tube because nobody made one soft enough.
Big Bite has come with this new tour series of baits. The thing that's probably the most unique is when you look at that bait, the salt just rolls out of it. And to me, that is the reason a fish bites a tube and hangs on to it. This isn't one of those let's go out and catch some smallmouth tube. This is a let's get it done tube.